What's going on, everybody? Adam here with eTrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at some RV vinyl flooring for your RVs, campers, trailers, or your garage. First thing you want to do is, of course, just clean your trailer. Get everything out of it, everything off of the floor, and you do want to take some of the trim and stuff that are on the floor and on the walls, just so we can get that down. We're going to put them back on once the vinyl's installed. So what we did was we swept it out, we blew it out, and then I took a shop vac and vacuumed up all the little cracks. If you have wood, we don't recommend that you wash it, but if you do have some other type of flooring in your trailer, you can go ahead and hose it out, but make sure to let it sit out maybe a day or two to make sure all the moisture is gone. So that's what we did, and all the while I had this big old roll of vinyl out in the sun, so it's going to be a little bit more malleable whenever we're trying to cut it into place. So now that that's done, what we want to do is unroll this and get the shape that we want and make sure it fits. We're pretty much ready to get going. We have plenty of ventilation, and that's something that we really want to make sure you do, just because the glue's gonna be kind of stinky, and make sure you wear a mask, of course. But the options that we have when it comes to the flooring is the small coin like we have here. We're also going to have large coin, some diamond patterns, also marble, and checkerboard. So depending on what your rig look like, if it's a trailer or a garage, you can just pick whichever one's best. The reason why we're going with the small coin or the large coin is just because we use this trailer to load up a lot of our toys. Sometimes they're muddy and sometimes it's wet, so the coin is going to give us a decent amount of traction compared to the checkerboard or the marble style. They are going to come in 24, 18, and 12 foot lengths, and the width is going to be either 8 and 2 inches or 8 foot and 4 inches. Our trailer's about 8 foot wide, so it's a little too wide to get it in the door. But what I'm going to do is just kind of unroll it on the little ramp and pull it in so we can get it cut to size. Now that the flooring is all rolled out, I kind of folded in the sides just so we're not going to have any issues with the wheel wells. So now that that's done, kind of grab it. I'm going to bring it all the way to the front here. And we want to get it all the way to the edge. I wanted to make sure that it is even on both sides. So you can use either these little wheel wells for reference, but try to get it as straight as you can. And what I'm going to do is start on one side of the trailer, make sure it's nice and flush, start making my cuts, and then once that's taken care of, I'll do the rest of the sides. So there's one thing that we're doing today, just because I want to be able to wash this out. And what we're doing is we're taking the caulk off between the wall and the ground, so it's going to sit flush to that little edge, because it does kind of stick up a little bit, and we want to make sure that it's going to adhere very well to the bottom and stay nice and flat. But we're going to caulk over top of it to seal it back up again. This is something we talked about with the source company, and they have not tested it, but we're going to go ahead and do it today just to see if it's going to work, and so we can give it a nice seal. One tip when you're cutting, it does come in handy to have some sort of flat edge, whether it's something small like this for the corners, or for the longer runs you can use something flat like this. The idea here is to get the flooring as pinned into that corner as possible, so then whenever we go ahead and make the cut, it's going to be right in that corner, and it's going to be a straight cut. So especially on the longer ones, it's nicer to use a longer straight edge, just because it's not multiple different cuts and you won't see as many differences in the line. So that's just a quick tip to get this done as smoothly as possible. Another thing I found kind of useful in certain situations is to kind of take the trowel, push it up against that wall, and bring that knife with it And this way, it's nice and straight, as you can see. And it just really makes a really smooth and even cut. And if we do end up with some uneven cuts, I do not suggest taking the knife and trying to cut it like this. What I found best to do is take it like this and kind of run your blade over the top of it, taking little to hardly any material off of it, just because you can always take more material off, but obviously we can't put it back on. So just kind of run it over there a little bit and then check that out. We are flush just like the rest. The reason why we are not putting vinyl over this little section is because it's raised. So if we were to have it go like that, we're gonna have this little air gap right here. It's just not really gonna look the best. It's not gonna look flat, and it will eventually start to maybe pull up a little bit. Some stuff can get down in that little crevice, and we don't want that. So be mindful of that. If you do have something like this around your wheel wells, be sure to do what we did and not just go directly over it. Well, that went pretty smoothly. One piece of advice that I will give you is if you're cutting off material, cut a little bit less than you think you need, just because you can always take off more material and you can't put it back on. But it looks pretty good. So now all we have to do is make the sections behind you, cut those out, and of course our back little tailgate. Now that the flooring is all cut out and ready to be glued down, that is the next step. We're going to have two different options for our glue. We're going to have the 801 and the 601. So the 801 is going to be for your metal and concrete floors, but can also be used for wood as well. But then the 601 is going to be a specialized glue just for wood. We're going to be using both of them today to see how they fare. This is a little bit more easy to deal with. It's going to get tacky in about 5 minutes, and then we can put down our flooring. The other one, on the other hand, is going to be a little bit more sensitive to the humidity and the heat. So both are going to want between 75 and 65 degrees Fahrenheit, and we want to make sure that the humidity is going to be between 35 and 55%. Again, the wood glue I would definitely recommend if you were putting them on wood floors, and if you are doing more of a multi-surface type of application, you can go with the 801. Both are going to work well, but you're going to need a little bit more patience with the 801. Well, now there's nothing else left to do but to get to work. I went ahead and did that side first, and I have found the way that's a little bit easier for this application. It all just depends on what kind of trailer or garage you guys are putting this in. So what I did was did that side, and now I'm going to do this side with the door, so I have a place to escape to whenever I go ahead and roll it over. So let's go ahead and take this, start rolling it back as best we can. Be easier with an extra set of hands, so if you have them, grab them, and if you don't, I did the other side all on my lonesome, and it worked out fine. On the other side, I used the 601 wood glue, but on this side, I'm going to use the 801 just to see if there's any differences in how it applies. There is differences between the two, but I just want to see if it's kind of the same concept, same thickness, and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start right at the material. So I'm going to bend it back as far as I can and then start putting down the glue all the way along there, and then I'll start working my way from that side all the way back here, and then finish up here, and then go out the door, and it should be good. So let's get to it.
Right off the bat, the difference between the two different glues is one's obviously just going to be a different color, and then the 801 is going to be white. But the 801 is a lot thinner, so it's a lot easier to spread out. I really like that, and it's not giving me near as much trouble as the 601 wood glue. One little tip, one thing I like to do is now that I have everything up against this little crack here, once you do that, stick in and then just start pulling it away, just like that. So now that section's good, and now we can just continue and start covering more ground. Well, now that that's done, we're going to let it sit for a little bit. We want to get tacky, but not glossed over. We don't want it to dry, so keep a close eye on it. Wait about 15 minutes or so, and then you can go ahead and roll it back out, and then start rolling on top of it. Now that it's nice and tacky, you can go ahead and start rolling everything back into place.
Now that it's all kind of laid out, you want to take your roller, and we're going to go one direction, and then you can go ahead and do the other direction. So I'm just going to do that. Just go this way, and then start working my way the other way. The heavier the roller, the easier it'll be for you, so you don't have to put a whole lot of pressure down on it. Mine's about 70-ish pounds, so I'm putting a little bit more force on it to get it nice and stuck to the glue. If you do get any glue on the vinyl, all you need to really do is take a warm, wet rag, just kind of wipe that up, and it takes care of it.
So now that the big section's done, all I really need to do now is this and the tailgate right there. So I'm going to go ahead and get to it.
Well, we are completely finished. Now the glue is just drying and setting, so we want to make sure that we minimize traffic as much as possible for the first 24 hours. We don't really want to have any heavy equipment like a side-by-side or just any heavy toolboxes or cars in here for the first 72 hours. And we don't want to wash this until about 5 days or after. We just want to make sure the glue sets, everything is good, and then you can use your trailer as you did before. Well, it's the next day and everything's nice and dry, so now we just need to put our accessories back in the trailer. So you may have a D-ring like this. A lot of them come with the trailers from the factory. So these are a little bit easier to do. You can kind of either feel around or look at the pictures that you took before, and you'll find that these holes are pretty easy to locate. So what you want to do is take an X-Acto knife and just make a cross, and then take each flap and then start cutting it around, and then these things will go right into place. And then for the holes, whether it's T-track or a D-ring like this, what I suggest doing is going down underneath your trailer, take a little drill bit and make some pilot holes, so then you can kind of see where they're at, and then you can go and do the rest up top, put your backing plates down at the bottom, and then tighten everything up. Well, this is what it looks like when it's all said and done. We got our E-tracks in, and if you don't have E-tracks in your trailer already, we do have a lot of different size options and color options. I wish I would have put some black powder coated E-tracks in here, but it is what it is. It still looks fantastic, and it only took us about 2 days to get it all done. Whether you're trying to impress your neighbors with a nice, clean garage floor, protect your investment, or just make it a little bit more enjoyable to be in here and clean it out, I would definitely recommend grabbing some flooring. We have a lot of different sizes and patterns to get the look you're really looking for. Again, this was the Source Company RV vinyl flooring, and I'm Adam with eTrailer.